What's up, guys? It's Cassie and Sara, and today we're talking about the obscure death of Edgar Allan Poe.
So if you like watching murder mysteries, make sure you hit that subscribe button and keep on watching. Edgar Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts on January 19th, 1809, the second child of English-born actress Elizabeth Arnold Hopkins Poe and actor David Poe Jr. His father abandoned the family in 1810, and his mother died a year later from consumption, pulmonary tuberculosis. Poe was then taken into the home of John Allan, a successful merchant in Richmond, Virginia, who dealt in a variety of goods, including cloth, wheat, tombstones, tobacco, and slaves. The Allans served as a foster family and gave him the name Edgar Allan Poe, though they never formally adopted him. John Allan alternately spoiled and aggressively disciplined his foster son. The family sailed to the United Kingdom in 1815, and Poe attended the grammar school for a short period in Irvine, Ayrshire, Scotland, where Allan was born, before rejoining the family in London in 1816. There, he studied at a boarding school in Chelsea until summer 1817. He was subsequently entered at the Reverend John Bransby's Manor House School at Stoke Newington. Poe moved with the Allans back to Richmond in 1820. In 1824, he served as lieutenant of the Richmond Youth Honor Guard as the city celebrated the visit of the Marquess de Lafayette. He registered at the University of Virginia in February 1826 to study ancient and modern languages. The university had strict rules against gambling, horses, guns, tobacco, and alcohol, but these rules were mostly ignored. During his time there, Poe lost touch with Sarah Elmira Royster, who was his girlfriend at the time and also became estranged from his foster father over gambling debts. He claimed that Allan had not given him sufficient money to register for classes, purchase textbooks, and procure and furnish a dormitory. Allan did send additional money and clothes, but Poe's debts increased. Poe gave up university after a year, but did not feel welcome returning to Richmond, especially when he learned that his sweetheart Royster had married another man, Alexander Shelton. He traveled to Boston in April 1827, sustaining himself with odd jobs as a clerk and newspaper writer.
So I didn't really know that he didn't get the Allan part until he was kind of adopted.
I thought he was just born Edgar
I thought that
Allan
was
Poe. I just,
So basically his mom died and his high school sweetheart married another man. And his, foster father was, weird. Spoiled him,
but
yet was super mean.
Aggressively, disciplined him. I'm like, do you love me or not?
Yeah. They probably already gave him some, bipolar type issues.
I don't know. I'm just
stress my thigh.
I'm just, caressing her thigh. Poe was unable to support himself, so he enlisted in the United States Army as a private on May 27, 1827, using the name Edgar A. Perry. He claimed that he was 22 years old, even though he was 18. Poe was finally discharged on April 15, 1829, after securing a replacement to finish his enlisted term for him. Before entering West Point, he moved back to Baltimore for a time to stay with his widowed aunt Maria Clemen, her daughter Virginia Eliza Clemen, Poe's first cousin, his brother Henry, and his invalid grandmother Elizabeth Carnes Poe. Poe left for New York in February 1831 and released a third volume of poems simply titled Poems.
Because you don't just get out of the military.
No. So he, his father,
bribed.
Got him out of that.
So he went to live with his aunt and cousin and his grandmama. Wait, his brother Henry. Wait.
Yeah, he has two siblings, but they
Why are they living with them then?
And well, I think he also has a sister.
I was just wondering why is his brother living with his aunt, but he went to live with a John Allan. That sounds like a big bug. Why did he give his last? That's a real big bug.
Where is it?
It's behind. It's back there, behind the
Well, we're gonna leave that blanket up. I sound like a juicy fly. After his early attempts at poetry, Poe had turned his attention to prose. He placed a few stories with a Philadelphia publication. The Baltimore Saturday Visitor awarded him a prize in October 1833 for his short story M.S. found in a bottle. Poe became assistant editor of the periodical in August 1835, but White discharged him within a few weeks for being drunk on the job. Poe returned to Baltimore, where he obtained a license to marry his cousin Virginia on September 22, 1835. Though it is unknown if they were married at the time, he was 26 and she was 13. Poe was reinstated by White after promising good behavior, and he went back to Richmond with Virginia and her mother. On May 16, 1836, he and Virginia held a Presbyterian wedding ceremony at their Richmond boarding house, with a witness falsely attesting Clement's age as 21. Also, in 1839, the collection Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque was published in 2 volumes, though he made little money from it and it received mixed reviews. One evening in January 1842, Virginia showed the first signs of consumption, known as tuberculosis, while singing and playing the piano, which Poe described as breaking a blood vessel in her throat. She only partially recovered, and Poe began to drink more heavily under the stress of her illness. The Broadway Journal failed in 1846, and Poe moved to a cottage in Fordham, New York, what is now known as the Bronx. Virginia died at the cottage on January 30th, 1847. Biographers and critics often suggest that Poe's frequent theme of the death of a beautiful woman stems from the repeated loss of women throughout his life, including his wife. Poe was increasingly unstable after his wife's death. He attempted to court poet Sarah Helen Whitman, who lived in Providence, Rhode Island. Their engagement failed, supposedly because of Poe's drinking and erratic behavior. There is also strong evidence that Whitman's mother intervened and did much to derail their relationship. Poe then returned to Richmond and resumed a relationship with his childhood sweetheart, Sarah Elmira Royster.
So this is when he started to write his poetry and publish things and get a job. And then he married his little cousin. He was
26 and she was 13. And then to get married, they had somebody say she was 21.
Yeah.
So obviously back then it was like a no-no still.
To marry someone that young? Or
yeah,
to marry your cousin?
If there's falsely saying that she was 21.
Yeah.
Which
But I think, I don't know, because if your parents, like, sign off, can't you get married, like, pretty young?
Yeah, I think so.
But maybe her mother was like I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Because it is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Why would you want to marry a 13-year-old if you're 26?
Maybe he was just desperate.
Probably. I feel like he's had some hard times already. His mom died, his wife died, his adopted father, foster father,
whatever you want to call him,
was like weird to him.
Loving and
mean.
I
don't know. And then his high school sweetheart
married somebody else.
So.
And then his failed engagement too to that
girl.
On October 3rd, 1849, Poe was found delirious on the streets of Baltimore, in great distress and in need of immediate assistance, according to Joseph W. Walker, who found him. He was taken to the Washington Medical College, where he died on Sunday, October 7th, 1849, at 5 in the morning. Poe was not coherent long enough to explain how he came to be in his dire condition and was wearing clothes that were not his own. He is said to have repeatedly called out the name Reynolds on the night before his death, though it is unclear to whom he was referring to. Some sources say that Poe's final words were, "Lord help my poor soul." All medical records have been lost, including Poe's death certificate. Newspapers at the time reported Poe's death as congestion of the brain or cerebral inflammation, common euphemisms for death from disreputable causes such as alcoholism. The actual cause of death remains a mystery. Speculation has included delirium tremors, heart disease, epilepsy, syphilis, meningeal inflammation, cholera, and rabies. One theory dating from 1872 suggests that cooping was the cause of Poe's death, a form of voters' fraud in which gang members would force people to vote multiple times in different disguises. Because Poe was found on the day of an election, it was suggested as early as 1872 that he was the victim of cooping.
I feel like his death is kind of interesting. He was found in the streets wandering, all, first of all, not in his own clothes.
Yeah.
But then also, like, kind of out of his own mind. And talking about someone named Reynolds, which they don't know who that is.
I think, like, I mean, the cooping thing does sound legit because, okay, he was found on election day and also wearing clothes that were not his.
So changing, like, disguises or whatever.
And, like, I think more of it was, like, with him being, like, all weirded out is he was intoxicated. Because I guess there would be, like, I'm not sure what the term they used, but, like, we'll say, like, a bar or, like, a thing of drinks was out. Like, once you voted, you would come out and have a drink.
Each time he went to vote, maybe he came out and got a drink.
Yeah, so.
But why would he be saying Reynolds? Maybe he's giving away the name of the person, like,
maybe.
in the gang. Like,
maybe.
He was also a guy who was, like, a loner, kind of, and, like, more on the depressed side, I would say. So he's probably an easier target for the cooping. But who knows? It could literally be anything.
Yeah.
Somebody could just have attacked him. Somebody could have, maybe his, like, rival or other people who were writing at the time, too, could have, like, wanted to kill him. Who knows?
Maybe he was in his own clothes, you know, got super drunk. Somebody attacked him and changed the clothes.
Who knows? I don't really know.
There was another one, though, that Shelton's brothers, she's like the Royster, she goes by like Sarah Elmira Shelton now since she got married.
Her brothers tried to...
Like, they drugged him with alcohol and, like, beat him or something.
Because he was trying to go back after her?
Yeah, but I don't know.
I mean,
I don't like that theory.
It's a stretch, but we also don't know.
Poe's funeral was a simple one, held at 4 p.m. on Monday, October 8th, 1849. Few people attended the ceremony. Poe's uncle, Henry Herring, provided a simple mahogany coffin, and a cousin, Nelson Poe, supplied the hearse. The funeral was presided over by the Reverend W.T.D. Clement, cousin of Poe's wife Virginia. The entire ceremony lasted only 3 minutes in the cold, damp weather. Reverend Clement decided not to bother with a sermon because the crowd was too small. Sexton George W. Spence wrote of the weather, "It was a dark and gloomy day. Not raining, but just kind of raw and threatening." Poe was buried in a cheap coffin that lacked handles, a nameplate, cloth lining, or a cushion for his head. On October 10th, 2009, Poe received a second funeral in Baltimore. Actors portrayed Poe's contemporaries and other long-dead writers and artists. Each paid their respects and read eulogies adapted from their writings about Poe. The funeral included a replica of Poe's casket and wax cadaver. So he did. So I know it's sad. He did have a funeral, which I was shocked.
Yeah.
Only a couple people.
They didn't even bother with like
a sermon.
Proper,
like a sermon, because it was too cold and the crowd was too small.
There was probably like 5 people there.
That's only 3 minutes?
That's really short. So probably it was just, like they said, his uncle and...
I think his aunt was there too and provided a shroud to like put on him or something, but...
yeah. That's so sad. I mean, like, I know he didn't have like a lot of family, but that's still pretty sad.
Immediately after Poe's death, his literary rival Rufus Wilmot Griswold wrote a slanted high-profile obituary under a pseudonym filled with falsehoods that cast him as a lunatic and a madman, and which described him as a person who walked the streets in madness or melancholy, with lips moving in indistinct curses, or with eyes upturned in passionate prayers. Never for him, for he felt or professed to feel that he was already damned. Griswold somehow became Poe's literary executor and attempted to destroy his enemy's reputation after his death. Griswold wrote a biographical article of Poe called Memoir of the Author, which he included in an 1850 volume of the collected works. There he depicted Poe as a depraved, drunken, drug-addled madman and included Poe's letters as evidence. Many of his claims were either lies or distortions. For example, it is seriously disputed that Poe was a drug addict. Griswold's book, nevertheless, became a popular, accepted biographical source. This was in part because it was the only full biography available and was widely reprinted, and in part because readers thrilled at the thought of reading works by an evil man. Letters that Griswold presented as proof were later revealed as forgeries.
So, Poe's arch nemesis or rival, Griswold, basically, like, wrote a bunch of lies about him that he was, like, a psycho.
A drug addict. It'll never be solved because it's 18...
It was so long
ago. It's the 1800s. They have, like, nothing, like, no death certificate, no records.
They can't do anything.
No.
But, like, even if they did, will they actually find anything? Or are they going to care to? Because if he was just some drunken lunatic, are they going to care to really search to see if he was actually murdered or not? No. He's known as kind of like a dark author or whatever.
Like a Macrobay.
Yeah. Because
writer.
of, like, you know, his stories that he wrote, like The Raven and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd just include it. This stuff is interesting, his works, but also his story. Like, he married his cousin. So many people in his, like, life died. Like, how he died.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like an official story like we're used to, but it's interesting still. We hope that you guys enjoyed the story of Edgar Allan Poe.
Make sure you leave your theories or tell us if we missed any information down in the description below.
Yep. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to our video.
Turn on those post notifications so you know when we post a video.
Yes. We try to post them every single week.
But with the upstate New York, it's not a given right now. Because it is winter here.
And COVID. So, let us know what you think happened to Edgar Allan Poe. If you think that he just happened to get drunk and then died from that, or if there was a little more...
If you think the cooping was it... Some side action?
Well, that's not what I was going to say, but sure, some, like, more mysterious stuff was going on. And we will see you guys next Friday. Peace!